Today, we're going to take a closer look at this dive watch from Timex. This is the Timex Navi XL Automatic. This watch was first released in 2019, and Timex says it is not an homage to any one specific watch, but rather is inspired by their early dive watch archives. This is the Timex model number TW2V38200ZV, but we are simply going to call it the Navi XL Automatic. It is currently available at both Amazon and Timex for the same price of $279. However, Timex is known for offering deals on their website, including a 15% off for signing up for the newsletter. So if you decide you're interested, you may want to check out the Timex site. Hey everyone, welcome back to Eric's Everyday Watches. As always, if you like this video, if you find it helpful, please do me a favor, hit the like button and consider subscribing. So before I start the video, I just want to take a moment and recap, because as a lot of you know, I have a love-hate relationship going on with Timex. It is a brand that I want to love so much, but I feel like they have broken my heart too many times. And this is what I mean. All started with this, the Timex Weekender. It was the first Timex I bought as an adult, and I love it. It is my go-to beater watch. I wore it today when I was shoveling the snow. After that, I bought the Timex Waterbury Explorer, which ticked so loud that I could not keep it in the bedroom at night. It broke my heart. Next up, I bought the Timex Waterbury Small Seconds, which arrived DOA, dead on arrival. Again, broke my heart. And last, I bought the Timex Allied Coastline, which the date when it was ridiculously small, there was 0 micro adjustments on the bracelet, the second hand stuttered, and the bezel made a clicking noise. But it came in a nice box. Still, it broke my heart. You see, I'm 1 out of 4 here, 25%. That's not great. Okay, so to start with, we need to talk about this box that this Timex watch came in, because this was completely unexpected, and I was just not prepared for this. This is roughly maybe 12 inches by 3 inches box. This is not your typical 4 inch by 4 inch box that most watches come in. And as you can see, it started with this white outer sleeve that I slid off. Inside of that, we have this rigid black box with the Timex logo printed in a spot varnish. And when we remove that, what? Another box inside the box. Again, flat black with the Timex logo printed in a spot varnish. This time it's hinged in the back like a clam-shaped box. And we open it up and we reveal, voila, the watch itself. Now, I gotta give Timex a lot of credit. You know, when this first showed up on my door, I had no idea what this was because I was not expecting this. So inside, you'll see they actually included a little graphic on the top of the box that says Navi XL Automatic and talks about how this watch is inspired by various watches in our archive. And then down here, the watch is held in place with a couple elastic straps. But then the piece it sits on is not just a flat, hard piece of the inside of the box. It's actually like a linen texture, and it has a little give to it. It's soft, like a watch pillow would be. So major kudos to Timex. And if this is any indication of how the watch is going to be, this is quite honestly inspiring. I love the fact that they put this much attention into the packaging, assuming they did the same thing for the actual watch inside. So the watch comes in with a diameter of 41 millimeters and a lug-to-lug distance of 51. And that might sound a little on the large side, but as you can see, it comes paired with this Milanese bracelet. So it's gonna fit extremely close to the wrist. And I had no issues with it, wearing it on my 7-inch wrist. Now, the majority of this watch has a brushed finish to it. And you can see there's a brushed finish on the lugs, there's a brushed finish on the sides of the case. In fact, the only area that is not a brushed finish and has a polished finish is going to be the case in between the lugs. And that is kind of working for me because you can see the end of the Milanese bracelet is also a high polish. So that kind of pairs together. Now the case shape itself is kind of this angular shape. It kind of hints back to a vintage vibe to it, which I really like. Oftentimes on this style of case, my main concern is going to be, are the edges sharp? But I have to say they did some really nice attention to detail here. And the top of the case and the bottom of the case, it's all nice and smooth to the touch. Now, I would have to say that the fits and finish on this watch is probably on par with a Seiko in a similar price range. It's actually that well done. I'm really impressed. So on back of the watch, we have a exhibition screw down case back with text that reads water resistant 100 meters, the model number, as well as automatic movement. It also has this unusual bit here of telling you actually what the lug distance is, 20 millimeters. That's actually very handy on a watch. I love to see that. The movement inside is a Miyota automatic movement, and that is from the 8000 series. It is a 21 joule movement with a 40-hour power reserve. It does hand wind, but it does not hack. Timex did sign the router, but it is not overly embellished. They kept things very simple. Now the crown on this watch is roughly 6 millimeters in diameter and 4 millimeters in height, and it is a signed crown. Now turning it while it's in its all the way in position winds the movement. Pulling it out to the first position will set the date, and pulling it out to the second position will adjust the time. Now you notice the second hand does not hack. The date window is printed white on black and is done in the same size and same font as the 24-hour track. It is behind a Cyclops window, which some people love, some people hate. In my everyday use, I found it not to be that helpful, mainly because in order to really get the benefits of a Cyclops window, you have to look at it dead on. And when it's on my wrist, chances are I am looking at the date from an angle. Let's take a look at the face of the watch, starting with the bezel. This is a 120 click unidirectional bezel with a coin edge to it. You'll notice that the bezel does not have a loom pip on it. It is not the easiest to grip and turn, but it does have good action and a good sound to it. Very little back play. And it does align at the 12 o'clock position. Overall, the watch has this new vintage, old school styling diver feel to it. And yet having the 24-hour numbers in the middle also kind of gives it a feeling of being a field watch. Now starting with the outside of the dial, we have a white minute track printed directly on the dial and with spots of loom at the 5-minute ticks. Inside of that, we have applied markers with a high polish metallic outline to them and are filled with loom. Around the dial, we have round indices, except at the 3, 6, and 9 positions, which we have baton indices. We also have a downward pointing triangle at the 12 o'clock. I am glad to see that Timex has used applied indices here. One of my previous criticisms of Timex is they have a tendency to just print directly on the dial. And at this higher price point, that would have been a no-go for me. Inside of those applied indices, we have white Arabic numbers for military time printed directly on the dial, along with the words Timex and automatic. The pencil-shaped hands have been given the same treatment as the applied indices, with a high polished metallic outline and filled with loom. The second hand has a lollipop counterbalance, and the hour hand has a circular die cut which surrounds the 24-hour Arabic number and quite honestly is the star of the show for this dial. Overall, I think this is a really good looking watch. But then again, Timex has never had trouble with the aesthetics. It was always just the build quality that they struggled with. And so far, I am not disappointed with this. I think this might be the watch that wins me over. Sitting on top of that dial, we have a flat piece of mineral crystal. So the strap that comes with this watch is this Milanese strap, and it just feels like a nice, thick, quality piece. You can see it is 3 millimeters in thickness. And one of the nice things about this is that the attention to detail. Now the clasp has been given a brushed finish that matches the case. And I do like seeing that because I have owned Timexes in the past where the clasp did not match the case and it just felt like an afterthought. Another thing here is that this clasp has a fold over safety. Now a lot of times with these fully adjustable clasps, they don't have that. And the big fear, of course, is you're going to be out someplace and this accident is going to open up and it's going to fall off and you're going to lose it. And with my luck, that would not happen when I'm in the house. That would happen when I'm someplace like an airport and it'd be gone forever. So I do like the fact that they added this fold over clasp to give it a little bit of security. Because, let's face it, this is not a $30, quartz watch from Timex. This is a little bit of money. And I do really like this watch. I would hate to lose it because the clasp failed. But with that fold over safety, it just gives you that added sense of security. Another thing I want to point out about the strap is it does come with quick release spring bars. And that makes so much sense for a Timex because a lot of people who buy Timex are not the die-hard collector. And this makes it so that everybody can change the strap. So let's go over the specs for this watch. It's an automatic Miyota movement. We have a flat piece of mineral crystal, a diameter of 41 millimeters, a thickness of 14 millimeters, a lug width of 20 millimeters, and a lug-to-lug distance of 51 millimeters. And finally, let's go over the pros and cons. For pros, it is a good-looking watch. It comes with 100 meters of water resistance, which is not enough to actually go deep-sea diving, but it is more than enough for everyday use. It is highly legible when it comes to the time, and I do love the way that the hour hand circles the military numbers. The case has a good fit and finish to it, the clasp comes with a safety on it, and it does come with quick-release spring bars. For cons, you got that Cyclops date window, which I was just not a fan of. I'd rather them just make the date window bigger. It has a flat piece of mineral crystal instead of sapphire, and the bezel was a little difficult to actually grab onto and turn. So my overall take on this watch, at $279, it might be slightly high. If you did the 15% discount at Timex for signing up for their newsletter, it brings it down to $240. I would still love to see this a little closer to $200. The price point that this is at means that it competes directly against watches from Seiko and Orient and Citizen, and those probably have a slightly better movement inside. But then again, a watch it's about more than just its individual components, and part of what you're buying when you buy a Timex is the nostalgia for what was once a great American company, and the hope that maybe someday Timex will bring manufacturing back to the US. This watch has definitely won me over, at least for Timex's automatic watches, and I think it's fair to say the Navi got me. This has been Eric from Eric's Everyday Watches, reminding you to buy the watch that you love. And don't pay any attention to what anybody else says or thinks. This is your watch collection. If you like this video, if you find it helpful in any way, please do me a favor, hit the like button and consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next video.